Hi guys, today we are going to talk about a very important topic which is children career counseling and role of a parent. One of the difficulties of parenthood is that how much you want to get involved in career choice of a child and how much eligible you are to do so. You want your kids to be independent, yet you want them to learn from your experience as well. So, here are the discussion points which we are going to cover today. Why do children need career counseling? What is the eligibility criteria for the parent to be involved? How to do it, when, who else can be involved? How to gauge it? How to calculate the efficiency of the process, results, and then we will do the conclusion. I think it's fairly clear that why we need career counseling because most of the parents are around 20 to 25 years more older than their children. So they have seen the world for that many more years. They have learned from different experiences, they made the mistakes, and they want all that to be sorted out for their kids. So definitely, there is no reason why a parent should not be involved. I have come across people in my family who are the parents and think that they can't guide their children because they haven't studied enough or they did not achieve as much as they wanted. And the only thing which I tell them is that you still have got that valuable experience behind you. And for that reason, you can guide them not only by your successes, by your failures and the lessons you have learned. So I think you do have a role as a parent to show your child the right path. And a good parental guidance gets a child kickstart they want to get on with life. I think the most important and probably the only eligibility criteria which is there is that the parents are much more involved with the children in day to day life. You cannot gauge an aptitude of a child because you are not there. You have to be there for your child to gauge what is right for them in life. Just by being a parent does not automatically qualify you to make that choice. For example, my son and my daughter are fairly different uh, in their likes and dislikes. So, if I give an advice to my son, it is very different to an advice which I give to my daughter because I know that they are going to react differently to a same piece of advice if I give in a same manner. And that's where the parenthood is so important that you spend time with them and try to know their personality. When you know their personality, give them advice as it's coming from them rather than going from yourself. And that is the major criteria for me to be able to career counsel your children. If you're not spending enough time with your children, then the validity of your counseling and your advice may not be as good as you think it might be. It is an ongoing process, and I think there is no specific way of how to do it. But more importantly, children like to do things when they're playing around rather than have a serious one on one discussion. So, probably in the playtime when they're doing things, it is the time to explore their ideation and guide them through. Like when I play with my daughter, she was not very fond of becoming a doctor. While we were playing Doctor Doctor, I explored the ideation what was the reason why she did not want to become a doctor. And she said that although she wants to help the humanity, but the blood side and everything was too much for her. So then I guided her and told her that yes, there are extended program where the people get used to it. I did not like it and I became a doctor, and that's not a problem for me anymore. And then she was a bit more inclined towards that. She's still very young. I don't think so. I have convinced her to become a doctor, but definitely during that passage of play, there was much more information shared rather than I had her sat down and had a one-on-one discussion with her. And this also explains the valuable time you spend with your kids and how that can be utilized. I think there is no given time for it. As early as the child starts to understand things, and nowadays the generation which we were from and the generation nowadays, there's a vast gap. The generation nowadays mature fairly quickly. Even 2, 3, 4 years old are talking a lot more sense than I think what we used to do. So have a reasonable discussion up to their level of what they want to discuss about. Certainly, when it is at age of deciding about their careers as they grow up, in teenage years or so on, then you need to have a firm one-to-one sit down discussion with them, and it should be more uh, informally formal discussion. Most important thing is to treat a child as a teenager as an adult who has got aspirations of their own that might be very different from yourself. You need to respect them and gauge how strong these feelings are and try to work around them rather than saying you are going to become a doctor and that's about it. Who else can be involved in the process? Uh, there are quite a few people who can help you through, especially best friends, cousins, grandparents, whoever the child is more friendly with, because they would be the people who they will be sharing their insight about their progress, about their careers, about their aspirations. And that might not just come under the topic, this is my aspiration. That is when they are discussing about what they are discussing about more. And then talking to these people, taking their views into account, is basically collecting evidence around what is the direction your child wants to go in. And if that path is a path you know is not going to fulfill the dreams or is a much more difficult path to chase. For example, if you're in Pakistan, to become a football player at an international level is going to be much, much more trickier than to become a cricket player at an international level. So then you have the grounds to collect evidence to and against the choice they're trying to make. Most of the children I've seen are very intelligent and they are very, very flexible, provided that you come with the right evidence. If you want to say that's it for you, they will retaliate badly. If you convince them into it, convince the evidence, and few of the times I have to say that when I had a discussion with my children, I thought that I knew the right answer. But then they were adamant that no, that wasn't the right way. So I looked into it, I researched it, and I found that they were right. So be flexible in your approach, be receptive when you are giving an advice to your children. And that is certainly a key to making a good partnership. You have to constantly gauge the advice you're giving, whether it's working or not. And you need to devise ways to find out after a period of time that whether the advice has worked or not. So, for example, after giving advice maybe a month or 2 months later, see what they're discussing now, what their aspirations are now. Gather it from the peers as well. And then you can have straight questioning with them, that are they still willing to become what they wanted to become before? Are they still continuing to aspire to become a doctor, engineer, computer scientist, whatever you have decided, or even a football player? And then try to see what can be done to guide them through this. Now, we all want evidence to support whatever we are doing is right or wrong, or whether it has worked or not. So, to calculate the efficiency of the process is one of the most difficult things. But as I said in the previous slide, the change in ideation would be your evidence. They wanted to become engineer, you guided them, you gave them evidence, and now they've changed their mind towards becoming a doctor. Or they are in the middle, becoming an engineer or a doctor, so it needs more discussion. And secondly, look at their aptitudes while you're playing with them, having discussions with them. Because initially, when I had discussion with my daughter about becoming a doctor, she was just saying no, plain no. Then I could see a transition, that she is more receptive. She's taking it more as a welfare thing to be done. She's not absolutely convinced, but there is a shift. Now, whether the shift will go back, I don't know, but obviously that does tell me that the things which I have been telling her have worked a bit. Whether it has translated into her becoming doctor or not, I don't know, only time will tell. The results are the only definitive result is when they acquired the career which they want to have. But also, there are markers leading towards the result. That is, change in the aptitude, change in behavior towards the career we're discussing about, an observation of change in behavior by the others as well. So, in conclusion, it is one of the most difficult things which a parent has to do in their lives, because they feel responsible for guiding a child towards their career, which might be for life. There are uncertainties, but I would like to assure every parent that every parent faces that. So, and there is no 100% right or wrong answer. We know from history a lot of people thought that one career, or a lot of parents thought that one career was best for their children. Their children took up another totally different career, totally inverted commas wrong path, which led to them being the most famous people in the world. So, what you are trying to do it is trying to help your children at that specific time and moment to make that right choice for them. And please remember, it is a dynamic world, things change. For example, in the field of medicine, 10 years ago, specialties like anesthesia and intensive care were considered to be secondary. And at that time, it might not have been the most recommended path to undertake. But 10 years on, the field of medicine has changed drastically, and now there is a lot more importance given to these fields. And it was nearly impossible to predict that shift 10 years ago. So, what I'm trying to say is that there are so many variables that are involved. Try to do your best uh, in guiding your children through this, but have a leap of faith as well that things would work out best for your children. Also, have confidence in your kids' capabilities and their decision power, and try to support them if they are pursuing the path they want to rather than going your way. I would like to thank you for watching the video, and please do subscribe so that we can become a much more sustained resource for answering your queries and trying to help you sort out your problems. I really look forward to hear from you. Thank you. Bye.